Hi, thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to continue on our studies we did last week on the picture of man and some of the tools that was given to me when I was in mystery school back 35 years ago. Hard to believe. But I'm going to add some things. One of the things I'm going to add is some essential oils. I don't know how many of you use them, but they're very helpful for energy, for the energy that you have. This one is called Valor. And this particular essential oil is a blend, and it actually helps your system balance, but it also balances your chakra systems. It's a lovely scent. So it's nice to start with that when you're doing this kind of work, because it completely puts around you an aura of beauty and balance. The essential oils are so powerful and so helpful. So we started with that. What we're going to do tonight is very interesting, at least it is to me, and that is we're going to start with showing, first of all, man in his natural state. And I will describe this as I put it up. And there will also be a picture on the side of the video describing it. This is natural man. You'll see down there in the V is the physical body. In the center is awareness. That's the sensations that come in from our being, things we hear, things we feel. And then what we have is X, the life principle. We're calling the life principle God, however you want to say it. We're calling that X. This is man in his natural function, where he literally, naturally, physically takes in what's going on, reports correctly to intelligence, to X, and then the appropriate thing is accomplished. Now, the only problem with that is that as we go along, and I described last week, that one of the difficulties is that when we're born, we develop a belief system. And I suggested to some of you last week that you begin to look at what your real purpose of life is, or living. Because the original purpose at the time that we were born was to find non-disturbance. We were in the womb, comfortable, everything was the right temperature, everything was working just fine until the birth. And when we were born, it was uncomfortable. Even when we came out, it was uncomfortable. They pop up bottoms of our feet and they put stuff in our eyes, and a whole series of things occur. And that's uncomfortable. And so we make a decision from a passive awareness that we want to return to that state, that non-disturbed state. Unfortunately, most of humanity is still trying to find the non-disturbed state. The problem is that it doesn't exist. The non-disturbed state is in the womb, and we can't go back to the womb. So what takes place then, to describe it to you, is we start getting conditioned. Here we are, this little essence who's just pure and just reporting accurately like the picture showed, the natural picture of man. And then what starts happening is we get conditioned. We get conditioned, and here's an example of this, and I'll go over it more. But here's an example of what takes place, and this is conditioned man. From this state, we are told by teachers, anybody that's an authority to us, we begin the process of deciding what's good and what's bad, what's right and what's wrong. We begin a process of being conditioned to what life is, through the premise that things are disturbing or not disturbing. And we don't have non-disturbance very long, do we? We have maybe a moment or two, and then back we go into the life function. So what takes place is, at birth, when we're young, the first thing that happens, and you'll see on this chart, the very first thing that occurs is the first decision. The first decision says, I want my way. Well, that's how a baby stays alive. It says, my pants are wet, I need food. And so it starts complaining and starts crying for what it needs. That part's normal. How many people do you know that are still crying when they're when something is uncomfortable and they complain about it. Most of us, actually. The second decision that comes in is that it's important for others. We have rights, and it's important that others do what we need. This is the second decision. If they just do what we want them to do, then it's going to be okay. We'll be non-disturbed. And so what happens is we begin this whole internal complaining process of trying to get others to do what we want them to do, so we'll be non-disturbed. Now, I'm not saying these things based on this is the absolute truth. And you can work it the best way you want to work it, but I've worked it for 35 years myself, and how many people do you know that are still feel like they have their rights? We have Putin right now who feels like he has a right to the land he's bombing, and because that's just the way it is, and he deserves to have it. The third decision is made later, but before that takes place, we have a period of time where we get an intervention, you might say. And that intervention, and I'll show you this in a minute, but that intervention is usually around potty training time, or when we're not so adorable and now we have to be disciplined. We have to be told that's not okay, you can't do this and you can't do that. And so what happens is there's a split that takes place in our psyche, and we begin to start trying to please to be non-disturbed. So we do then what is told by our authorities. Now, keep in mind, an authority can be someone who's a little boy down the street that's an inch taller. It can be anybody in terms of an authority. But we start believing that spiders will kill you. And so you end up your whole life figuring out that spiders are dangerous, and we can even have phobias over that. The next decision that comes into play is that it's important. I'm trying to see how they say it. How this sheet says it, but it says it's important to please others. Well, there we go. How does that work? Would you like to tell me how that works? How does it work to just please others? Does that get us non-disturbed? Ask that question to yourself. We try to please others. Does that make you non-disturbed? It may get you out of a situation, but you only do that so long. And then what takes place is you get tired of it. And then you start sticking up for your rights. You flip over to the other side and you're tired of just being a pleaser. Around teenage time, you sort of wake up to life and decide you're going to do showers, you're going to look good, you're going to be important, you're going to have roles that you want to play. So we got our teenagers that are trying to figure out these roles to be non-disturbed. So they start changing themselves on some fashion, hoping that they'll be non-disturbed. And we hope that they don't get involved in drugs and alcohol, so that becomes a numbing effect, and that's their experience of non-disturbance. The last one, or the next to the last one, is the one over here. And this is where we're trying to change others. Have you ever tried that? Have you ever really tried to change others, and does it work? Does it offer you non-disturbance? Rarely. In the first place, people have to change themselves. There is nothing you can do to change others. Even if they try to please you, does it even work? They will eventually do what they want to do, because we have this little business over here. So these are basic decisions that come up in order to mimic this non-disturbed state. Then we have the chooser. Now, the chooser is very important. The chooser is that place in us that decides whether we're going to do this side or this side. Anybody noticed you kind of dual? You have conflict. One time you feel this way, another time you feel that way. You go into conflict because somebody wants you to do something. You feel guilty. This is about guilt over here. And this is about anger over here. So the conflict, the struggle, and the resistance that takes place inside of us is all with the purpose of trying to be non-disturbed. Now, what does this really mean? This means that essentially what we're doing is we're setting up, because that's what we've been taught. We're setting up a struggle. And is it what we want? Do we want to struggle? Or how about changing your purpose in living? How about making your purpose of living to be in service to others? How about realizing that disturbance is just part of being here on the planet? It's part of being an earthling. I had one teacher say to me, you know, if we were supposed to be here, we wouldn't have to wear clothes and have houses to live in. I mean, we might just very well be an ancestor of some sort that got dropped down here. We don't know. But certainly, disturbance is what we continue to struggle with. And as we're struggling, it has an effect, which we'll talk about later. It has effect on the physical body, the psychological body, the emotional body, and all of a sudden, we're not only in a mess, but we're certainly not happy. So as we look at this, the most key part of this, for me anyway, is that I've been watching, and what's true and what's not true is a struggle for everyone. What's the truth? So when we look at conditioning, we know that conditioning is something someone told us. It's not necessarily something that is true for now. So we have to reach that point where we start asking, what is reality right now? What's true right now? Very few people do that. They just mostly react and go into their conditioning, and on it goes. On the struggle goes. And so one of my pieces of work this lifetime is to be able to teach people psychologically that there's another way. And that way has to do with observing the conditioning, seeing what's real and seeing what's not real, and finding a way to create a new purpose for yourself so that your destiny of what you came here to do gets lived out, instead of being automatically conditioned by everything, everyone, every situation. So as we're looking at this, do you know somebody who's complains a lot? They're just not getting their way. You probably do. We probably all do it in one form or another. So I'm asking that you possibly start looking at and watching how much you complain, how much it is that you want your way, how much it is you think you deserve to have this, or you have a right to it. And I'm so sorry to say that we have it in the global scene as well. We can watch it from the global TV, from the, how that works. So that's one of the things that became so powerful to me, to understand that difference between what's conditioning, what's just old decisions that's been made. And remember last week we pulled a card, it was so powerful. It said in the card something like this. It said, when a situation occurs, we're not responsible for the situation, but we are responsible for how we respond to it. We are responsible for our decision that take place around that event. And so let's work on it this week if you have the interest to do that. I won't be doing this piece for very much longer, but I'm going to do one more segment of it, because there's a segment that has to do with the physical body and healing, and I want to bring that one into the video as well. But these are very deep and powerful teachings. So let's shift a little bit, because I have a surprise, or a gift. I call it a gift. And part of it has to do with We are now in the Aries energy. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that everyone's feeling a little restless. Everybody wants to go out of town. Everybody wants to start some new adventure. People are restless from the standpoint of movement. They feel more stuck where they're at because that Aries energy wants to do and experience different things. So let's use that energy and accomplish some things that you want to do, because this energy will help us do that. It's really strong, this Aries drive, ruled by Mars, the god of movement and the god of moving the physical body. And let's use this powerful energy. And it's spring and it's about nature. So I don't know about you, but I'm going to get out in nature as much as I can. That's what I'm feeling. And with that, we have the possibility of seeing some new things for ourselves. This is actually right now, astrologically, this is the first of the year for astrology. Aries is the first sign on the wheel astrologically. So we are beginning a new year, and it's coupled with Easter, the renewal of the Christ energy, and also all the other ceremonies. I'm spacing which the Jewish tradition, and that comes into the picture as well, starting these new beginnings. So our major thing is what's real and reality. Can we really look at something instead of going off into our conditioning and ask what's real? What's really happening here right now? What am I really feeling right now? And am I just being triggered? So this gift I want to give you is a gift that I haven't done very often, but I use it continually. And what it is the sealing of your electromagnetic currents. Now, what does that mean? Well, the body itself is electric. And around our bodies is this current of energy. Sometimes you can take photographs of it and auric fields and see the energy that's around the body itself. So we have these currents that are constantly working for us. If we ask in a prayerful fashion, we can actually seal our electromagnetic currents so that whatever is in our highest good is the only thing that comes into our field. Now, I've done this for a lot of years, and it actually totally, completely works. So I thought I'd walk us through, and if you'll go with me on this one, walk you through the sealing of the electromagnetic currents. Okay, probably better to close your eyes. Take a deep breath and ground yourself. We declare to the Lord God of our being, to the Lord God of the universal whole. It is our intention at this time to do a sealing of our electromagnetic currents to the purpose of being in service to holy life. As we breathe, we call forth the current. We align the current within our auric field. We breathe and seal our electromagnetic field. We breathe now and declare the integration of that sealing within our field. And as we breathe, we declare also that it is done, that it has been completed. And we thank Holy Life for having assisted us in this sealing process of our electromagnetic currents. And so it is. Now, let me explain a little more about this. When I was first given this this sealing, I was resistant to it because I didn't want anything shut out of my energy. Keep in mind, this is to be used for your highest good and that which serves you. Anything that doesn't serve you cannot enter into that field, into your field. So trust the process. I didn't at first. And then I had an experience where it was required. I needed to do some sealing of my field. And when I did, I noticed this resonating peace that took place around me and with me. And I was very grateful for having given this tool of sealing the electromagnetic current. So try it, see how it feels, and see what you like about it. Okay? All right. I am picking my favorite stone. I'm going to stick it out here. This is azurite. It also has a little chrysocolla in it too. Azurite, by all accounts, is the most healing stone on the planet. It was used in Egypt for most of the jewelry, and many, many, many places azurite was the primary stone of healing. It's very, very beautiful. And it's the first stone I started healing people or doing healing work with. So this stone is very precious to me. So glad it stayed in my world. These stones jump around and sometimes you lose them. So this is azurite, and if you get a chance to get a piece of azurite, highly recommend it. It's a deep, rich blue. And if it's mixed with chrysocolla, all the better. Because what it's doing is it's working with your third eye, and it's also working with your heart if it's got chrysocolla in it. So it helps balance both. It's very beautiful for that energy. Okay. Love it. Love it, love it. So one of the things we're going to do right now too is I'm going to pull another card. Let's see what happens here. Let's see if we got a card. I thought the last one was pretty strong. Let's see what's in this little gold box. Okay. This is last week's. I'm not using that one, but I didn't realize it was just in the front. I was trying to describe it. It says, "It is not what has happened to us, nor what has been done to us, but what we decided about those things. And for those decisions, we're responsible." I think it's an extremely powerful card. Okay, let me find another one for today. Wow, we're really getting down to it, aren't we? It feels like it. Feels like we're really, really working it. If we imply to a person that he's not responsible, which is expressed by helping, then we've harmed him. For this we will get a balance, which means we will pay. Let me describe this card a little bit. It's one of the probably the most harmful things you can do is tell somebody that they're not responsible. They're responsible for their reactions. They're responsible for how they feel about it. And to tell them they're just a victim of the situation is a very harmful thing for someone, because they can spend the rest of their life feeling like they're a victim. And none of us are truly victims. Not really. Circumstances present themselves. I don't understand all of it, but I do know that some of it's karmic in a sense. Some of it is happening because there's lessons we need to learn or situations we need to clear and clean up. So to feel like you're a victim of all these situations is just, well, I'm going to use that word. It's pitiful. I use that word sometimes. That's pitiful. So we don't want to do that to anyone or for anyone. That's the last thing we ever want to do, is to tell them in any way they're not responsible. They're just helpless victims. Okay. I want to share that we have, and we'll give you the information on it, but there is a book that I've participated in. It's called The Silver Sisters, and The Wisdom of the Silver Sisters, and it's on Amazon. So we'll put that up if you want to read that. It's a very worthy book of several women who are sharing their experiences, and I have a chapter in that, so you might want to look at that. And as always, you know that I'm fairly easy to reach. If you decide you want to either sit with me privately, or you want to do phone sessions, or whatever it is that you're interested in, just use the number and we'll make it happen, okay? So as usual, this is a delight. I really love doing this, and I hope it's something that is useful and valuable to you. So be well and love this spring energy, because it's really bringing us all up in some fashion. It's the new buds that are happening, the new life forms that are starting to come. It's spring. So welcome to spring. Bye now.